They say he only appears when you're completely alone. Not just alone in the room, but alone in the world. Late nights when the air is too still, when your phone has no signal, when the shadows feel heavier than usual. That's when he steps out from the edge of your vision. Not with a scream, not with a threat. Just a presence. A man in outdated clothes, a pale face, and a silver watch ticking slightly out of sync. He doesn't force you to look at him. You just do. Something in your mind bends toward him like gravity, and when you finally meet his gaze, he speaks one sentence, always the same, no matter where or when. Would you like one more minute? No explanation, no context, no cost mentioned, but something in your body knows exactly what he means. Not a minute added to your lunch break or your deadline, a minute added to your life. 60 full seconds that weren't supposed to exist, time carved from somewhere else. Some say the offer comes in moments of crisis, when your heart skips too long, when the car should have hit, when the breath should have stopped. Others say it happens when you're lost in thought, blinking between dreams and reality. The pattern doesn't matter. What matters is the answer. If you say yes, he doesn't smile. He doesn't nod. He simply opens his watch, turns the dial once, and disappears. Nothing changes in that moment. No light shifts, no sound pierces. You just feel extended, like the universe paused for you. A breath drawn out further than it should have gone. Most people never realize it happened. The moment slips by. But some do. They notice a bird falling mid-flight. A flickering street lamp going dark. A scream cut short in the distance. Because for every extra minute you're given, something else loses theirs. No contract, no blood, no soul stolen, just time, borrowed. Welcome to Tales from the Forbidden Library, where the clocks don't just tick forward, they choose who gets to keep ticking. The first documented account came from a truck stop cashier in Nevada. 2:13 a.m., no traffic for miles. A man walked in, gray slacks, black coat, pale skin like chalk left in the rain. He didn't buy anything, didn't speak at first. He just stood in front of the security mirror, staring at his reflection until the store's clock ticked 1 second past due. Then he turned and asked, "Would you like one more minute?" The cashier laughed at him, thinking it was some kind of prank. But he couldn't shake the unease. The man didn't blink once, and when he left, the radio behind the counter went dead. The news feed froze. The soda machine stopped humming. Just for a second. But in that second, something left. Since then, the same man, same face, same clothes, same watch, has appeared in dozens of cities around the world. Always in forgotten spaces, crossroads with no traffic, alleyways between closed shops, gas stations in the dead of night. He never follows, never calls out, but he's always there when no one else is. Survivors describe him with uncanny precision. Not handsome, not disfigured, just wrong, like he was drawn from memory by someone who's never seen a human up close. His watch is old, silver, and ticks just slightly off tempo. And no matter where he's seen, the hands on the face are always the same, 11:59. Most people say no. The offer is too strange, too sudden. But some, especially those on the brink of something, those feeling like life is slipping too fast, say yes. And when they do, they report the same sensation. The world holds still, not stops, holds. Like an invisible breath is being drawn and not released. One woman in Morocco claimed she accepted the minute after a car crash. Time seemed to slow, and she pulled her body from the wreckage just before it exploded. She survived, but later found out her neighbor's heart had stopped in the exact same 60 seconds. In Tokyo, a night shift janitor said yes after nearly falling from a scaffold. He caught himself in a moment that should have broken him. That same night, an elevator failed in a building 4 blocks away. No injuries, no fatalities. Just one man found inside, completely still, like he'd never existed. These incidents aren't linked by geography, but by timing. The minutes gained always coincide with a minute lost elsewhere. A slip, a silence, a space in time that collapses and doesn't bounce back. And the man? He's never seen again in the same place twice. Some theorists believe he isn't a demon or a god or even a ghost. They call him a custodian, a regulator, a creature responsible for keeping time balanced. Not fair, balanced. He doesn't offer salvation. He offers an exchange. And if he appears to you, it means your clock is about to run out. Most people think the minute is free. It feels like nothing changes. The air still hums. The light still flickers. Your heart still beats. But those who pay attention, who feel time rather than just track it, say something else entirely. They describe a shudder in the universe, a breath being held somewhere far away, and never let go. That's the true cost. It doesn't come from you. It comes from somewhere else. Or someone else. A stranger's candle blown out early. A moment they never got to speak. A decision they never got to make. And the worst part? You never know who gave up their minute so you could keep yours. It might be small at first. A dog barking, then suddenly silent. A train that derails with no warning. A pilot's blink, lasting just 1 second too long. And always, that moment lines up. That 60-second stretch you were granted ends exactly when someone else's life does too. It might be small at first. A dog barking, then suddenly silent. A train that derails with no warning. A pilot's blink, lasting just 1 second too long. And always, that moment lines up. That 60-second stretch you were granted ends exactly when someone else's life does too. Those who accept the deal more than once begin to feel it. Not guilt, interference, static behind their thoughts, a delay in their movements. Like time is no longer flowing around them, but through them. Like they're borrowing space that wasn't meant to hold them anymore. One man described it as feeling unaligned with the hour. He said he moved too quickly or too slowly for the moment. That when he laughed, no one reacted in sync. That his shadow sometimes lagged half a second behind. He had accepted 5 extra minutes. And now, nothing in his life moved at the right pace. And sometimes, the payment comes close. A friend collapses mid-conversation. A neighbor's home burns down while you sip coffee with an extra 60 seconds. You'll never prove it. You'll never trace it. But something in your gut knows. You stole that time. Or borrowed it. And one day, the lender will come to collect. There are rumors of people who became addicted to the offer. People who sought the man out. Stood at crossroads night after night whispering, "I'm ready," into empty air. Those who were granted too many minutes began to distort. Not visibly, temporally. Their clocks never matched the world's again. Some still exist between seconds, never aging, never sleeping, never fully awake. Because the more time you borrow, the less real you become. They say the watch is older than the man who carries it. Not in years, in rules. It doesn't tick like normal timepieces. It pulses, like a heartbeat hidden inside metal. It never shows the current time. Only one moment, 11:59, 1 minute before midnight, 1 minute before the end. That's the only time that matters to him. Because that's all he can offer. 1 minute more. People who've glimpsed the inside of the watch say it's impossible. The gears don't move in circles. They fold. They bend inward, like they're turning through space rather than around it. Symbols are etched along the edge. Numbers that don't match any known language. Not numbers to count time, but to choose it. He never winds it, never adjusts it, but it always runs. And when he opens it, the air changes. Not colder, not warmer, just tighter. Like reality takes a deep breath and waits to see what you'll say. Because if you say yes, It shifts everything around you, like a ripple in a pond no one sees. Some occult researchers believe the watch isn't mechanical at all, that it's a containment object, a prison, not for him, but for the rule he enforces. That time, in its purest form, is a living contract, one where every second is balanced, every gain is mirrored by a loss. And the watch doesn't give time, it redistributes it. That's why he never asks for payment, because he doesn't take, you give, willingly. The moment you say yes, you authorize the rebalancing. Your minute is added, someone else's is removed. And once that transaction occurs, the system adjusts. Not fairly, but precisely. The more you accept, the more you feel the weight of time as a living thing. It doesn't chase you. It marks you. Your skin begins to hold memories that don't belong to you. You wake up knowing things you never learned. You forget moments you swore just happened, because the timeline isn't yours anymore. It's shared. Some say that after a certain number of deals, the watch changes hands. That the man carrying it now was once a desperate soul like any other. That he borrowed too many minutes. And when the debt could no longer be spread outward, he became the carrier, the custodian, the salesman, the system's voice in human form. And now he waits at the edge of every dead hour, where time grows thin and reality begins to blur. Not to tempt you, not to trick you, but to offer you exactly what you asked for. One more minute. You might not remember the meeting. It could have been on a rainy road you pulled off of for no reason. A flicker of movement in your rearview mirror as your phone lost signal. A man standing too still in a gas station parking lot as the lights buzzed overhead. Maybe he never spoke. Maybe he just looked at you. But for a moment, you felt suspended, like the second was stretched longer than it should have been. Some people remember the offer. Fewer remember saying yes. Most feel the effects long after the moment has passed. A saved life, a miracle escape, a breath caught just in time. And then, somewhere else in the world, silence. You may have told yourself it was fate, a lucky break, a glitch in the universe that gave you one more second to act. But the cost doesn't show itself to you. It shows itself to someone else, someone whose hourglass suddenly ran dry, someone who will never know why time ran out. That moment of déjà vu you had last week, that sense you'd lived a moment already, that something paused and replayed without your control, that might have been the price, or the echo. Because when time is bent, it leaves fractures, little splinters in the memory, ghost seconds that haunt you in flashes. Some who've taken the deal stop dreaming. Others dream too much, memories of lives they didn't live, places they've never been. They say the dreams aren't theirs, but belong to the people who lost the minutes they gained. And those dreams always end the same way, with the ticking of a silver watch. And then there's the quiet terror. Those who've never accepted the offer, but should have. People who saw him and said no, who now live with the feeling that their death has only been postponed. That time is watching, waiting, recalibrating. That they didn't cheat the clock, they just delayed its strike. The man doesn't chase. He doesn't return. He doesn't explain. But if you see him again, you won't be offered another deal. Not unless you're carrying time you never spent. Because once you accept the gift, you carry the system inside you. And eventually, you'll offer someone else the same choice he gave you. So if one night you find yourself alone, and the air feels too still, and the second hand on your watch seems to stutter, ask yourself, did I really survive that accident? Or did someone else pay for my minute? If this story felt too close, let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who says they've had extra time. Because time isn't free, and someone is always keeping the balance.